Hey guys, how the hell are you? Today we are taking a look at version number 5 of the Savage Drive by Airis Effects. So first, some specs on this unit. Let's take a look at what's under the hood. Taking a look at the front face, you've got this awesome graphic, as we've come to know and love from a lot of Airis Effects units. Just a really cool looking enclosure. It is a Diecast Aluminum enclosure, heavy duty switch, alpha pots, Neutrik jacks, input, output. We have 6 knobs on the front. We have volume, which is the total output, low, which is, of course, the low, mid now, and high mid. So we've got 2 mid controls to sort of kind of tame and shape and color the tone a little bit in the middle of the frequency spectrum. High end right there, as well as Savage, which is the actual drive that this beast contains. Also, speaking of containing, inside this enclosure there is a control marked as hiss, which is kind of what you would expect. If you're finding that you're using this with a rig that's giving you a lot of background noise, you can adjust it internally to sort of kind of alleviate that, but this was opted to be left inside the unit as it's not something you're going to be adjusting on the fly quite frequently like some of the other knobs potentially. It's an updated version of the Savage Drive that we know and love. But enough of my yammering, let's move on into a tone demo. Earlier in the video, you already heard this thing used in a mix. That was a quad-tracked song using this as a boost in front of 2 already high-gain heads. 2 tracks, slight left, slight right, of the Dover DA50 on the heavy distorted channel, this thing in front, and also 2 tracks far left, far right of the Mesa Triple Rectifier Rev G with this thing in front, blended together to taste, and that's kind of what you get from using this thing to just kind of push and tighten up those already brutal tones coming forth from those amplifiers. But now let's check out what this thing can do just by itself in front of both a heavy already distorted amp as well as in front of a clean tone. As always, for the purposes of the tone demo, we will be utilizing my Framus television model, which is loaded with Seymour Duncan Alnico 2 Pros for those warm lows and those crisp clean highs. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to do is we are going to use the Savage Drive as a boost in front of an already super high gain head. For this purpose, we are going to be using my Mesa Boogie Triple Rectifier Rev G down there. Has my settings on it. It already sounds pretty heavy. So let's go ahead and turn the gain all the way down, turn the volume all the way up. Typical settings for an overdrive used as a boost. And let's flip this thing on. So definitely not a lot of gain coloration or oversaturation or anything like that. At this point, you've got just kind of a little bit more EQ usage using it like this. But kick up the gain just a little bit, the Savage knob. And in my opinion, the difference is quite a bit more noticeable. Let's fuss with the EQ a little bit now. Add a little more duck. And you kind of get the idea. This thing definitely has some absolutely killer tone shaping capabilities when used as a boost, thanks to the fact that it is a 6-knob overdrive. You've got the gain, you've got the volume, you've got the 4-band EQ. Definitely helps kind of mold that triple rectifier tone. So now, just for gits and chiggles, we're going to switch over actually to the Dover DA50, which is back there. We're going to use that as a clean channel essentially so that you guys can hear kind of what the actual tone capabilities of this thing are just by itself. The settings I'm using on the Dover, all the knobs are facing high noon straight up except for the master volume is cranked and the gain is just barely up, just so I'm getting kind of a little sparkly tone. That high mid is a lot more tweakable here. I shouldn't say tweakable, a lot more responsive. Very easy to get a lot more duck in there. Split the coils a little bit here. So overall, my final thought, I mean, I've known Rick for several years. I've bought a few of his pedals. He's sent me a ton of stuff to check out over the years. And this is just kind of the culmination of him ultimately figuring out what's working, what's not working, what was needed to improve upon a design already in place. I kind of really dig this. I love this sort of final culmination of all that he's learned coming into this pedal. I love the fact that it's got the ability to tweak not just mid-range as a whole, but the low mids, the high mids, you know, so that if you want a little bit more quack, if you want a little bit more of that duck, you've got that high mid. If you want to get rid of some of the mud, you've got that low mid there. It just makes it a little bit more useful, all while retaining that Savage Drive tone that we've come to expect from this little box. Now, those of you that have never played a Savage Drive know that, yeah, this thing doesn't exactly have the oomph or the high gain distortion that a few other Overdrive boxes on the market have, but it is one of those things that can complement a rig very nicely, especially when you're using it as a boost in front of an already high gain head. If you just need something to tighten things up, maybe color the tone ever so slightly, but without being overbearing, this is an extremely useful tool. Personally, if there was anything that I would like a little bit differently from my Overdrive unit, I would like it to just kind of sit in a little bit different place in terms of the low end. I feel like this thing, you can shape the low end rather nicely, but it's not giving that sort of balls out distorted low end that a few other Overdrive boxes I own do. So as a result, I think that this thing is a little bit less suited to old school metal personally. I feel like this thing is much more suited to new school metal, more modern metal, where you need sort of a handle on all the tightness and all the bite that can come from a pedal. In that regard, I think this is an absolutely fantastic unit and I can't recommend it enough. But Arnold, what are you drinking today? I am so glad that you asked. Let's go to the beer fridge, let's find out. Today, from Martin House Brewing out of Fort Worth, Texas, I am having, I hope I pronounced this right, Coquitus, something like that. So this is one of those ones that Martin House puts out every so often. Around here in bottle shops and places like that, you sometimes see these little 2-packs. There'll be like a long box, one can stacked on top of each other, and they're just kind of like a rare sort of beer that Martin House occasionally puts out. Once it's gone, it's gone. I've got a couple other ones down there from them as well. This one was something that I purchased last year, and I've just kind of sat on it for a little bit, but this is a rye whiskey barrel-aged imperial stout from their barrel-aged series. It is 14% alcohol by volume, 53 IBU. Let's see, brewed with a variety of malts, brown sugar, aged 3 to 5 months in fresh rye whiskey barrels with cocoa nibs. So this is the 2020 vintage. Let's crack it open. Pours a super pitch black like you would expect from a stout like this. Little bit of a tannish, sort of fudgy kind of head to it. Let's see. On the aroma, we've got a bit of coffee, a bit of cocoa, but it's not an overpowering bit of cocoa on the aroma. A little bit of vanilla, too. That coffee note has kind of given way a little bit to espresso, so it's definitely a little bit more refined. Ooh, a bit of char in the flavor profile. I'm still getting a bit of the espresso note out of there, but a little bit more char, probably coming from those whiskey barrels that it's aged in. Super thick, not really creamy, just thick, like drinking oil. It's that thick. Very, very, very mouth-filling. The barrel aging is not super overpowering. It's not super boozy. I'll probably feel it a little bit later, so it makes me think that this is kind of deceptive, being that it's a 14% alcohol by volume, but I'm not really getting a huge amount of alcohol. I'm getting, in the flavor profile anyways, I'm getting a little bit of alcohol bitterness, but not a lot of alcohol heat. So I think this is one of those things that's going to kind of slowly creep up on me through the rest of the day. So good, though. This is, I'll be honest, this is exactly what you would expect to get from Martin House, especially one of those super rare limited releases that they put out. This is just utterly fantastic. I love this, and I hope it comes back at some point because this is fantastic. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please remember, like this video, subscribe to this channel. There's much more metal and guitar-oriented content to come. And please remember, take what you do seriously. Do not take yourselves too seriously.